sir.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning to all of you. Today, we are trying to discuss the topic of types of accounts and customers. Now, as the title says, there are two things that we will talk about. One thing is the types of accounts that a bank opens, and second thing is who are the types of customers for whom those accounts are being opened. Right? So, firstly, there are certain popular types of accounts in any bank. Right? We can categorize them into two sets. One is the rupee accounts, Sri Lanka rupee accounts. LKR is the abbreviation or the shortened form for Sri Lanka rupees. So now in Sri Lanka rupees, we have one of the most common things is the current account, or it is also called the demand deposit account. Okay. Then the time deposit account, they are also known as fixed deposit accounts. Now remember, current accounts, banks do not pay interest. Time deposits, banks pay interest. Then savings accounts also, banks pay interest. So better note down here, no interest paid by the bank. Okay. Now savings deposit account, you get a small amount. Rate is very small. Rate must be now about between 3 and 4, whereas time deposits range from about 6% to 7% in banks. In finance companies, it is a little more than that. Then we have money market accounts. Money market account also operates like a current account, right? And there is another one called the call deposit account. This is normally known as 7 days call deposit, because you have to give 7 days of notice. Can you write down 7 days call deposit? Because you have to give notice of 7 days to withdraw the money in a call deposit account. But the money market account, it can operate like a current account, right? The difference between money market account and the current account is that current account, as I told you earlier, no interest, but money market accounts, you get interest. You know the difference now, right? Call deposit, you get interest, but you can't operate call deposits like a current account. Now, this can be operated like a current account. Then capital transaction rupee account, right? These are accounts which are being opened for people who leave the country and take up permanent residence in another country, right? You call it migration, right? People migrate. Then when people migrate, they are, after production of various documents required by the bank and the Inland Revenue and all that, they get approval. They get approval to open capital transaction rupee account. So what you do is, now you normally, people who leave, they may be having their properties. Let's say house and property, they sell it and they get the proceeds in rupees, right? Now this is a rupee account. You can put that money into the rupee account. Now from this account, earlier up to 200,000 US dollars, people could remit to another country. But now, you know, after this COVID situation and all that, the amount of money, because these capital transactions, amount of money that people can remit abroad was reduced to 30,000 US dollars. Can you write that down so that you will remember, right? This account, although in rupees, you can convert that into up to a maximum of 30,000 to send the money abroad. Okay. If you go to the central bank website, now I always tell students to get used to the habit of checking the central bank website. So please check the central bank website for you to get to know about this capital transaction rupee accounts better. Okay. Then now most popular types of accounts. Now one I told you the Sri Lanka rupee accounts. Other one is foreign currency accounts. Now these are maintained in foreign currencies. One is called the personal foreign currency account in the name of an individual. Then business foreign currency accounts. These are maintained in the name of a business. Inward investment account, right? The money received in foreign currencies which are held in a inward means it has come from abroad. Okay, you can hold it in foreign currency. There are certain foreign currencies in which these accounts are being allowed to be opened. Then outward investment account. Now this is mainly for you to send money abroad. Outward investment account, right? Now we will be talking about all these accounts next Sunday, right? Because this is a separate subject. I will talk about foreign currency accounts on one day, that is next day. Then offshore account. Offshore accounts, earlier these accounts were called foreign currency banking unit accounts. Okay, these are also, all these 5 types are maintained in foreign currency and not rupees. You can't credit rupees, Sri Lanka rupees into these accounts, remember, right? That is the difference between a Sri Lanka rupee account and a offshore account. This we will be discussing next week. You will get a handout and I will make a PowerPoint presentation like this next week. Now, are there any questions? If so, can someone ask me questions before I go to the next slides? Okay, since no one is talking, I believe there are no questions, because what I told you up to now in these 2 slides, I think it's basically you can understand without a difficulty. Then in any bank, all the accounts that you have, various types of account, you call it the account portfolio, right? All types of accounts together, you call it a portfolio. So you have individuals accounts. Now individuals are children. You know that various banks have children's savings accounts. Then some banks have teenagers savings account. Some banks have ladies savings accounts, right? Mostly these are children and teenagers. Mostly they are, since they are under 18 years of age, they are maintained in the form of savings accounts. But ladies also have savings accounts, but a lady can also open a current account. Then senior citizen is a person who is over 60 years. Can you write down? 60 years is the requirement to be a senior citizen in a bank. So they can have any type of account. They can have savings accounts, current accounts, as well as fixed deposit accounts. Then joint accounts. Now here, the difference is here, in the account, there is only one person. In a joint account, there can be more than one person, right? There could be two persons or 3 persons. Okay. Then sole proprietorship. A person who does business on his own, right? That business is called a sole proprietorship. Only one person here. Okay. In the case of a partnership, there is more than one person. Now here, individual is not a businessman, but here sole proprietor is a businessman, right? Joint account, they are individuals. In partnership, they are business people. Okay, more than 2 people. Then limited liability companies. They can be private companies. There are two categories, or they can be public companies, right? We will be discussing about the difference between the private company and a public company. Then you have clubs, societies, various associations. Now there is a example is for a sports club is Sinhalese Sports Club, which the club that plays cricket, right? Sinhalese Sports Club. It's a institution where some members have got together and formed a club. They are not doing business, right? It's a social club for people to meet, right? Engage in games, cricket, maybe squash. They have a gym, they have a swimming pool, that kind of thing. Society, there are welfare societies, various types of societies, teachers societies and things like that. Associations are also like that. Okay. Then miscellaneous. Now, any account which does not belong into these categories will come under miscellaneous accounts. Are you all okay with this explanation? Are there any questions? I always ask, are there any questions? And I hope that those who have questions will, within a minute, you will ask me, so that if not, I believe what I have told you is understood by you, and I will go to the next slide. Now, this is the disadvantage that I have when I am conducting an online classroom. Now, if it is a classroom where you all are physically present here, if someone doesn't understand, I can see the face from the face that that person, that girl or that boy is little confused. So I will ask, did you understand? Now I can't see any of you, so I can't ask that. Are there any questions? Right. If you remain silent, I understand. I take it as no questions. So miscellaneous accounts are sometimes you open for cooperative societies, executors and administrators accounts. Now this is something that you have to remember in mind. Executor is a person who acts for a person who had died after making a last will. Can you, within brackets, write down here executor, under the word executor, last will, right? Administrator is a person who will look after the properties and money belonging to a person who had died without the last will. Now the difference between these two is, here is a last will, here there is no last will. Okay, we will, when we come to that, or else I will tell you now, right? Now, why do people write a last will? If a person, before he dies, let's say he has a house and he has a property, another land, right? House is there, a land is also there. Now he might sometimes decide, if I die, this house will be, the owner of this house will be my wife, the owner of this land will be my son or my daughter, right? So he, in that document, which is called the last will, Antima Kamati Patra, you may have heard in Sinhala, he can write that. Okay, when I die, the house number 35 Alvitigala Mawata, Colombo 5 will go to, the ownership will go to my wife. The land which is at Bandaravilla, this estate, right, will go to my son or daughter. Okay. Now, when you have a last will, there is what is known as a probate, right? In the probate, you appoint an executor, right? Executor, these are executor. And the executor is the person who will try to finalize these matters. Because the owner is dead now, no? So he'll have to transfer the ownership to this lady, right? Here, when there is no last will, now the advantage is that when you have a last will, before you die, if you write a last will and die, your wife and children will not have to go through litigation process or to go to courts. But here, if you die without writing a last will, there are, let's say, there is the wife and children in the family, then they'll have to go to courts and get the court to appoint an administrator who will distribute the property according to the laws of the country. I hope that is clear. Any questions on that? Executor's account and administrator's account. So you know, executor is someone who is acting as a person who had died after writing a last will. Administrator is a person who will act for a person who had died without writing a last will, and this is generally the court appoints the administrator. Okay, here you have what is known as a probate. Here you get what is known as letters of administration. I think better you write those two down. Executor will get a probate, administrator will get letters of administration. Okay, is that clear? Or if there is someone who is not clear, you can please ask me to explain again. Does anyone want me to explain again? No? Right, I will go to the next point. Then trust accounts. Now, trust accounts, in a trust account, what you have is money belonging to somebody where there are trustees, right? They will look after the money of the owner of the money, right? Normally there are trusts. Mahabharakarya, public trustee, you have heard. Public trustees, Mahabharakarya. Some people, they write their properties, they give their properties to the Mahabharakarya, right? Or trustee, public trustee. Sometimes in schools, schools are run by a board of trustees. Now Trinity College, Kandy, they have a board of trustees. Bishop's College, Colombo Girls School, they have a board of trustees. There are various trusts. Sometimes co-wills have trustees. Churches have trustees. Okay. Even temples have trustees. Okay. Then government accounts. As the name goes, you know, this account is open for a government institutions. Then government corporations. These are open for government corporations. Now, cooperative societies, sometimes cooperative societies are societies which are formed by a group of people. Okay. Then NGOs, you know, these non-governmental organizations which were very recently, you know, there were some discussions and things like that, controversies of NGOs, right? For NGOs also, for all these people, you can open accounts in a bank. Any questions? Today I can't see any written questions, unfortunately. Yeah? So you'll have to speak today. Right. Now, opening and conducting accounts, you have to follow the identification procedures of the customer. What are the identification procedures that we have discussed last week? KYC, know your customer, customer due diligence, all those things will have to be done at the time of identifying the customer. You can't forget about those things, because as I discussed the other day, if you open an account to a wrong person, you may have opened an account for a criminal or a terrorist. Remember? Or else you may have opened an account who is using that account to launder money. Money laundering, anti-money laundering we talked about last week. So all those rules and regulations, you'll have to stick to those things. Then you have to monitor transactions of a suspicious nature and report to authority or appropriate authorities. I told you suspicious transactions. Where do we report these things? Suspicious transactions. Can someone tell me that? To which place do we report suspicious transactions? We discussed this last week. Can someone tell? There are about 28 or 30 people here. At least one. Can you tell me if you can remember? The place where you report these suspicious transactions? Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Can you remember? Okay. Then we had to adhere to the customer due diligence rules, right? Issued by the Financial Intelligence Unit of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. Now you have this handout, the note that I gave you, so you should answer when I ask a question. That makes it interesting for all of us. Other important measures, there are certain things we will be talking about. Other important measures, one of the most important things is know your customer. You know that now. You know your customer, CDD, AML, everything you know. AML, anti-money laundering, you know. Now there's a bank that is known as when you open an account, a relationship between the customer and the bank is called the bank-customer relationship, which is governed by certain laws. Now this relationship begins as soon as someone goes to an account, go to a bank and opens an account. Okay. Now to open the account, the bank, before making somebody a customer, they will perform various functions. They will go through the identity, they will check your KYC, they will do your CDD, they will check on the AML and CFT, countering of financing of terrorism, all those things they will do before you open the account, right? After that, you become a customer. Then after you become a customer, they do additional things, services for you. They will pay your checks. They will pay money to you cash, or to a third party you are giving a check. They will give money for that check, or they will credit money of that check to that person's account. Payment, that is payment. Gevima. Collection. Collection is another thing. Now sometimes you might receive your salary check. You will go to the bank and deposit that check. So what the bank is doing is collecting that check, right? Now that is something that the banks do. Those are very important things that banks do for current account holders. Okay? Underline the word current account holders. Generally, you can collect checks. Generally, there are special circumstances where you collect checks for other accounts. But generally, current account is the account to which checks are collected, right? before opening current accounts, banks take certain precautionary measures. Banks will not just go and open a current account for anybody that comes to the bank, however much money he brings. They will have to take precautionary measures. Otherwise, what happens is there is a certain act called the Bill of Exchange Act. In that act, there's a section called Section 82, right, which gives the banks the protection if they have opened the account in the proper way. Otherwise, they lose the protection, and there could be problems for the bank. Banks must, once again I will repeat, banks must adhere to customer due diligence, know your customer, and anti-money laundering procedures. If they do all these things properly, they are not doing their work in a negligent manner, right? So then they have the protection from negligence. When you open a current account, one of the most important things, when I say mandatory, means you must do it, right? You must get somebody else to introduce the account. Now, normally what banks do is, if they have accounts now, they will get one of those people. Now, that is not the bank's duty, but it is the duty of the person who wants an account open. account එකක් අරගන්න ඕන නම් මට මම හොයාගෙන ඉන්න ඕනේ මේ බැංකුවේ හොඳට account එකක් පවත්වාගෙන යන තව කෙනෙක්. Right? I must find a person of the same bank. If I want to, let's say I want to open an account with Commercial Bank of Ceylon. I don't have an account with Commercial Bank now. I go to the Commercial Bank, and Commercial Bank will say, we want you to find an introducer. Bank will not say, that person is having an account, you go and tell him to introduce your account. They don't say like that, because that is disclosure of secret information. Can you see me, or can see me? Can someone tell me whether you can see me?
Yes,
see
sir.
me. Earlier you couldn't see, no? It was up, looking at the ceiling. Right, doesn't matter. Right, because I think that mouse, I dragged the mouse, or some mouse went somewhere else, and I think this positioning of the camera changed. So you need to obtain an introducer, or you get a reference from another person, which is mandatory. Mandatory means you must do it. Then the introducer, the person who introduced the account. Now, if I want the account at Commercial Bank, that manager will say, can you please find a person to introduce? Then I'll have to find another person who's known to me, who knows me well, but who has an account with Commercial Bank. Then he will sign the account opening form, which is also known as the mandate. A mandate is the account opening form. Please write that down. Obtaining introduction or the reference before issuing checkbook or collecting checks. Now, banks can't, unless they have got the introduction or the reference properly on the new account holder, they don't give a checkbook, or they will not allow that person to bring in and deposit checks into that account. Because I told you that section 82 of the previous slide, here section 82 of the Bill of Exchange Act, that protection the bank will not have unless they got the reference or the introduction. Then individual accounts, when we open an account for an individual, now we talk about the account opening, right? Full name of the person should be there, and that must tally with the national identity card or any other identification document that the customer gives. National identity card, valid passport or valid driving license which bears the photograph of the respective customer is the identification document. Usually we would like to have this, right? Because this has a number, your full name, your address, everything, right? Passport also to a certain extent, but generally this driving license, unless it is the person doesn't have both these things, we generally don't like to obtain driving license, right? Okay, so what we do is we will look at the original and get a photocopy, and an officer in the bank will certify that he or she has seen the original. Then the permanent address we need to establish, right? Either from the identification document or some other document like the fixed telephone line bill or a copy of a deed or whatever, right? Then you must take the telephone number of the customer or his fax number and his email address if available. Because sometimes after you get a customer to open a relationship with the bank, sometimes you might have to contact customer. Sometimes he might write a check in a wrong manner. Then you will have to call this person and find out whether he had made a genuine mistake, right? Then customer's date of birth is important. Why? You have to make sure that this person is above 18 years of age to open a current account, number one. Number two, if he is going to be given privileges of senior citizen, you must make sure that he is over 60 years. So date of birth is very important. Then the customer's nationality is also important because certain accounts can be opened by nationals, Sri Lankan nationals only. Now foreigners who maintain accounts in the offshore banking unit, unless you know his nationality, you don't know whether he's a foreigner. Okay. Then we need to know the occupation, business or public position held, and the name of the employer and geographical area involved. Okay. Because sometimes person might bring a check. He says it's his salary check. Now, if you know the employer, you will see the employer's name on the check. It is easy for you to collect that check. You should know occupation, what type of a job is he doing. Is he a teacher? Is he a banker? Is he an accountant? Right? Or else is he a business person? Right? What is the name of that business? All those information you must obtain at the time of opening the account. And also you must find out why this person is opening an account. Now everybody need not have a current account, right? Sometimes it will be enough if you open a savings account for certain people, okay, whose purpose is mainly to save money, right? They are not going to make any payments to other people. So you can open a savings account for him. But if there's a person who has to make various payments to other people, it's better for you to open a current account for him. Expected turnover volume of business. So you should know about the values that he will put into his account. Now this is important because of anti-money laundering. Remember, we discussed last week anti-money laundering. Expected mode of transactions. How does he normally transact, do the transactions of the account? Is it mainly cash transactions or check transactions, or is he coming personally, or is he sending someone else to conduct the transactions on his behalf? All that you should know, right? Reference must be satisfactory, not just somebody signing, you must be satisfied that the person who had signed as the introducer or the who has given reference is a suitable person. Okay. Any questions up to now? Address verification. Now, I think we briefly touched on this, right? Last week also, residential as the customer. If it differs from the permanent address, we need to obtain proof by way of utility bills. Utility bills are electricity bill, water bill, or fixed line telephone bill, which are not more than 3 months old, right? If these are not available, you must, normally anybody will have this now if there's a permanent address, right? If not, you'll have to ask for something like deed. Okay. Then other reliable proof of residential address. The best proof of a residential address is the deed, title deed. Electricity bill, water bill, we discussed about these things. Fixed line telephone operators bill, we talked about it. Maybe lease agreement. If there's a lease agreement, or else receipt for rates paid, satellite TV bill. Okay, these are the documents you can get easily to prove the residential address. Now, those are the documents that are taken for an individual. Now, there are certain similarities and special characteristics of these joint accounts. Now, in a joint account, you have 2 or more names, whereas individual, you have only one name, sole account. In the individual account, within brackets, write down sole account. When a joint account is opened, all parties, now either 2 people will want to open an account or 3 people will want to open an account, then all those 3 people or 2 people must sign the mandate or the account opening form. Banks will also obtain instructions as to how the checks drawn on the account will be signed. Now, let's say this account is between me and my wife. I must tell the bank, give instructions to the bank, pay the checks which are signed by both of us. Or else I might tell the bank, whether I have signed the check or my wife has signed the check, you can pay. Okay. That is, either party means either me or my wife, or jointly by all parties means all checks must have my signature as well as my wife's signature. Okay. Each party to the account has an equal right to the entire balance in the account. Now, if the account is opened by 2 people, they have the right to the balance. If there is balance in the account of 100,000, each person is entitled to 50,000. That is what we presume. If there are 3 parties and if the balance is about 150,000, 50,000 needs to 3 people. Okay. Each account holder has the right to withdraw funds unless the bank has been informed of a different arrangement for withdrawals. Right? Any person can write a check and withdraw the money, right? If it is subject to this either party. Or else you should have told the bank, there are 3 of us who are maintaining this account. All 3 of us must sign the check to withdraw money. Okay. On the death of one party, remaining party or parties will be entitled to the balance in the account. There's a joint account between me and my wife, and when I die, right, my wife will become the remaining party, and she will be entitled to the balance in the account. Okay. let's see, let's say that my wife, me, and my son have opened an account, and I die. The balance will go to my wife and my child, son. Sole proprietor, I told you this at the very beginning. Now, when you have various types of business structures, this is the most simple structure, the simplest of all, right? And that is very flexible also, right? Business run by a single individual, underline the word single, okay? In a sole proprietorship, that business is owned by one person and he is the man who runs the business. The proprietor, right, he is called the proprietor, right? එහෙම නැත්නම් අයිතිකාරයා මේ ව්‍යාපාරයේ අයිතිකරු කියන්නේ proprietor. Has total control over the business. No one else will have control. He is the man owner of the business. Only one man in the business. He has the total control over the business. Then possesses power and authority to take all business decisions. He is the person who has the power and the authority to take all types of decisions with regard to the way that the business is being run. And when he does the business, if he makes profit of 100,000 rupees, he is the man who will be entitled to the entire profit. Same way, if there's a loss, he is the man who will have to bear that loss also, right? Then the sole proprietor account, yes, as I told you, the loss is also, if losses are incurred, he will bear the loss. He usually adopts business name rather than operate under the personal name. You would have heard various names, no? In the business, when you go on the road, you can see Sudharma Enterprises, Nihal Stores, Rani Grocers, like that. Now that can be the business owned by one person. Now that person's name is not although the business, this thing is Rani Grocers, the person who is there is not a lady, maybe a man. His name may be Siripala, but the business name is Rani Grocers. So sometimes the business name is not the same name of the person who is running that business. Name used for commercial purpose is known as an assumed name now, or a fictitious name. Now Rani Grocers is a fictitious name. Sumudu Hardware is a fictitious name, right? Then sole proprietor must register an assumed name. Okay, that is what I told. Now my name is Gamini Pereira. Now my business is not Gamini Pereira. I might have Gamini Enterprises, right? Or else I might have different name, Kusum Enterprises, right? It's not my name, it's an assumed name. Banks insist on evidence that the assumed name is registered. Now, when you establish a business, there is a place called the Registrar of Companies, right? There are sometimes in provincial councils, there are places where they register these names, right? These names are being registered because two people cannot have the same name for their businesses. That can even lead to court cases. Now we come to partnerships. Now earlier we talked about individual account, one person, joint accounts, two or more people. Then we talked about sole proprietor, business run by one person. Partnership is business run by more than two people. Two or more people. They agree to carry on lawful business in common with the objective of sharing in a partnership, right? How will we apara කියන්නේ මේවා තමයි. The capital is provided by the partner. The mamai mage yaluwegui business එක පටන් ගන්නවා නම්, me and my friend, we start a business. To run the business, we need some money at the beginning. That is called the capital. Okay. Now that capital will have to be provided by the two partners. Maybe I might put 25%, my friend might put 75%. Or he might put 25%, I might put 25%, 75%. He put 25, I put 75, or the other way about it. They undertake the responsibility of for running the business on agreed basis. Now, when we do the business, I will say all the business with the Nuwara district, you look after all the business, because he may be resident in Nuwara, so it is easier for me to put him to do the look after the business transaction in Nuwara because he's there. I will say I will look after all the business of the rest of the country. So that's an arrangement that we have agreed. We have entered into an agreed basis. They will share its profits and losses. Now, at the time we start this business, if he and I put 50% of each, we will say let's profit. If we earn a profit, we will share equally. Similarly, if there's a loss also, we will have to bear the loss equally. If we decide no, we will share the profit according to the capital that we provided, the amount that we invested in the business. If he put 25% and I put 75%, right? I will say, okay, since you have put in 25%, on the profit also you get 25%. Balance 75% is fine. Like that, there would be arrangements entered into at the time of establishing the business. Now, information and documents required to open an account for proprietorships and partnerships are like this. You need the name of full partners or the proprietor appearing in the business registration certificate. I told you that the business must be registered, right? When you register the business, it will give a certificate which will have, if it is the proprietorship, it will say Kusum Enterprises. Name of the proprietor, Gamini Pereira. Place of business, number 37, Alvitigala Mawatha, Colombo 8. Right? Date of commencement of business, 1st July 2020. Right? Nature of business, buying and selling of string hoppers and pulsam bowl and dal curry. Right? They will buy and sell. From other people, they will buy those things and sell those things. So all those things will be there in the business registration certificate. Nature of the business is that. What is the type of business? Or else dealers in hardware items and building materials. People who have hardware, building materials, sand, cement, iron rods, right? Like that. Registered address of the principal place of business. All businesses must have a registered address, and that is appearing in the business registration certificate. Full KYC identification details of the proprietor or partner. Now, even though it is a business, you can't forget this KYC thing. So, know your customer identification must be done by the bank. Right? There are KYC forms. If anyone goes to a bank any day to open an account, you will definitely get these KYC forms. Then contact telephone numbers, fax numbers of email addresses, all that you obtain. Income tax file number also you obtain. Then information and documents are required to open some more documents. The extent of ownership controls, right? He owns 25% and 75%. It's better for the banker to know that. other connected business interests. In addition to this business, do they have other business interests? Are they partners or proprietors of other business? You get those details also. Then copy of the business registration certificate. You must look at the original at the time of opening the account. Ask the customer to give a photocopy, and a responsible officer of the bank will certify original seal, and you give back the original to the customer because that is his document. You can't keep the original business registration certificate with you. Proprietors or partners information, you get his address, all the information. Copies of identification of the addresses if the address is different from the permanent address. In the identification documents we have talked about earlier. Right. Then we have limited liability companies. As the name suggests, right? These are companies with limited liability for the shareholders. The act which governs this is Act number 7 of 2007, right? Which was passed in the Parliament on 20th of October 2006. So all the companies in Sri Lanka fall under this Companies Act number 7 of 2007. Now, unlike the sole proprietorship, right? That sole proprietorship owns to a particular individual. Now here, now there is a separate legal entity from the shareholders, right? The law recognizes limited companies as separate. Limited company is separate, shareholders are separate. All those shareholders are the people who own this company. Companies can be incorporated under 3 broad categories. One is limited companies. There is another section called unlimited companies. Now, unlimited companies must get special approval. And companies limited by guarantees, once again, opened with special approval. Limited companies have subcategories referred to as private companies or public companies, right? Now in Sri Lanka, if you look at all the limited liability companies, most of them are either private companies or public companies, right? Now, let's talk about public or private companies. Private companies, there is a limit to the number of members that the company has. There should be at least 1 person, or there can't be more than 50 persons. Must have at least 1 director. Now, you may have heard the thing called share issue. Now, in a private company, there are no share issues for the public. Normally, when a company issues shares, new company, if it is a public company, they will put an advertisement in the paper. Or no, before such a date, apply for the shares of this company. Each share is 10 rupees. So, it is called initial public offering or IPO. Okay, at the time of opening, establishing a new company, new public company, that public company is being formed with the idea of inviting public to become shareholders by contributing money. Then the company shares are traded in the Colombo Stock Exchange. Okay. In newspapers, if you take a newspaper, Daily Mirror, Financial Times, Sunday, the Financial Times, Daily News, The Island, every day, every Tuesday to Friday, every Tuesday to Saturday, 5 days, they will publish the value of the shares that were bought and sold in the Colombo Stock Exchange by public company shareholders, right? Public company, at least there should be 7 members, right? Whereas there is no upper limit. Public company must have at least 2 directors, at least, okay? When we talk about corporate governance later on, we will talk about directors' responsibilities, what their ages should be, what they should be doing, what is the code by which they are governed. That is, they are governed by a thing called a corporate governance code, right? All that we will discuss at a later stage. Now, public companies that I told you may invite public subscriptions, that is by putting an advertisement in the papers for their shares or debentures or any other securities. Now, debenture is also a way where a company can get other people to invest money. Okay, and there are other types of securities where companies get money. Don't worry about those things. We don't have to know all that. Can also be listed in the Colombo Stock Exchange. I told you, when you have a public company, you get people to subscribe for the shares. People buy and sell shares in the Colombo Stock Exchange because your company's name is listed in the Colombo Exchange. It is better for you to look at a share price list, which are published in almost all English newspapers, right? Or else you can go to the website www.CSE. CSE stands for Colombo Stock Exchange.lk. If you go to that, you can see the transactions that are taking place in the Colombo Stock Exchange, the buying price, right, at which prices the shares of a particular company is traded during the day, how many transactions have taken place, what is the total number of shares bought or sold, like that. All this information will be there. Cannot commence business without a certificate to commence business. Now, the Registrar of Companies is the authority which registers public and private limited companies. Can you write down here Registrar of Companies for you to remember later on? Registrar of Companies. Now, without the Registrar of Companies certificate to commence business, no company can commence business. There are special types of documents which are required to open accounts for limited liability companies. Now comes once again the KYC requirement. Now remember, any account that you open, this KYC requirement is a mandatory thing. Now in the companies, you get sometimes 7, 8 directors, right? Because of that, you get each and every person personal information, each and every director, right, with KYC requirements. Then certificate of incorporation. This is like the birth certificate of the company. This is also issued by Registrar of Companies. In the case of public limited liability company, which we discussed earlier, right, in the previous place. Right? Public companies. We discussed this. Right? And here, certificate cannot commence business without a certificate. We discussed this. So that is the certificate of incorporation, date of the birth certificate. This is the commencement of business, the certificate. Then there is a form called the Form 40 or the Form 1, right? Application for registrations you must ask for. Certified copy of Form 13, right? That is where the confirmation of the registered address of the company is available. Other documents are certified copy of Form 20. Now this Form 20 is having all the registered names and address of all the registered directors of the company. Articles of Association. Articles of Association is the internal rules of the company. Exact number of the meetings of the board of directors at which it was extract means the section, extract of the minutes. Minutes means a record of the proceedings. රැස්වීමේ වාර්තාවේ සංක්ෂිප්ත පිටපත. That is how I think in Sinhala it is mentioned. This is now you have a board meeting, directors meeting is called a board of directors meeting or board meeting. They come one day, sit down and discuss various things, and all those decisions that are taken is recorded by the company secretary. Okay. Now, one of the decisions that the company has taken may be to open an account in the Commercial Bank of Ceylon Limited, so that there is a particular section. Now, the company secretary will have to give to the particular bank where they want to open an account an extract of the minutes of the meeting at which the board of directors resolved to open an account with a particular bank. Then certificate of beneficial ownership. This is a very rare document. If there are some beneficial owners of the company, there will be a certificate of beneficial ownership. It's very rare, so don't worry about that. Then clubs, societies and associations. Now account must be opened in the name of the club. Now if it is Sinhalese Sports Club, account is maintained in the name of Sinhalese Sports Club. Organization for Professional Bankers, it's an association, right? It is a type of account. Society, sometimes cooperative societies may be one of the common type of account. Society, maybe Wildlife and Nature Protection Society, right? Information and documents, once again, KYC information of all the people who are involved in this. Copy of the constitution and rules of the club. Now, when you have a club or society or association, you have rules and regulations. You will say membership of this club can be given only to people who have served in such as a company. You can have like that. Okay. Sometimes past employees, they get together and form associations. Bank of Ceylon has a pensioners association. Okay. Now, when you ask for the documents, you must get a copy of the constitution. Constitution is the document by which You can see all the purpose of the organization and how the accounts are being to be conducted, how affairs are being conducted. All those things will be there, right? So you get the copy of the constitution and rules, right, of the club, certified by the president and the secretary both. Certified extract of minutes of the annual general meeting at which the current office bearers were elected. Now, you know that the societies have a meeting every year, which is called the annual general meeting. At that meeting, new people get elected to office. So you must get the extract of that minute of the last annual general meeting, where they say, as office bearer, as president, Gamini Pereira was appointed. Vice President, Sumit Silva. Then there's another Vice President, Rukmal Gamagi. Like that, all the names of the people are who got elected there. But it should be there. And these are normally certified by the President and Secretary, right? Everything should be, whatever documents that are given to the bank must be certified by the President and Secretary. Similarly, to open a bank account, the office bearers of the society or the club or the association should have taken a decision at a committee meeting saying that we will open an account with Commercial Bank of Ceylon, right? So you must get a copy of that minute also, because that minute is the thing by which the decision to open the account at Commercial Bank had been taken. Cooperative societies. There are certain documents required from cooperative societies. Mandate form. Now, all accounts must have this, not only cooperative societies, whether it is an individual account or a partnership account, sole proprietor account, public limited liability account, private limited liability account, you must have this mandate form. Now, in banks, these mandate forms are kept under lock and key. They are very important, very secure documents, right? So, kept under dual control means the accounts, right? There is a cabinet. That cabinet will have all these mandates, documents completed by customers to open accounts in a account number order, any order that the bank wants to have it. Maybe maybe they will have everything according to the alphabetical order, whatever order, right? Mandate forms. Then signature cards. Now the signature cards, if there are 5 directors, those directors will sign, 5 of them will sign separately a signature card each. What banks do is they capture, we call it capture. You take a photograph of that particular signature and put it onto the system, upload it to the computer system. Now, when somebody goes to the bank and wants to do a transaction or maybe get money for a check that the company has issued, they will give it to the cashier. Cashier will know the account number. He will type the account number on the keyboard, right? Then this account number, and if the name of the person who is having the account, they tally, right? Then the next thing that you see is whether this check is having the proper signature, correct signature of the customer who has drawn the money, right? Because if you pay with a wrong signature, right, by not looking at the signature of the check properly, you just go and pay. Then what happens is that customer at the end of the month, he will look at his bank statement and he will see a check for 5,000 rupees, check number is this. I did not issue this check, right? When the statement comes, all the checks that were debited to his account will be there. I did not issue this check, and he goes and checks his checkbook, because checkbook has counterfoils. When you write a check and tear it, the one part is retained in the book, that is called the counterfoil of the check. Okay, you keep that. When you get your statements, you check the statement debits with the counterfoil, and you will find that this particular check you have not written, it is missing from the checkbook. Now, if the bank has paid that check which you have not signed, bank is responsible, right? That is why banks take signature cards. Okay. Any questions up to now? Are all the things that I said up to now clear to all of you? Anyone who says not clear, please, this is the time. If you did not understand anything that I have been talking about up to now, everything is understood, very well understood. Can someone talk and say, we can understand? Can someone, a male voice this time, say that this is, whatever the lecturer is saying, I can understand? Please unmute your mic and talk quickly. I do not know who is answering, so don't worry. Right, anyway, if you are not talking, I will continue. Then in the cooperative societies also, you might have some rules and bylaws, right? How this society is operating. Then what you should do is to get a copy of that rules, and they must be certified by always remember, if it is a society, the rules and regulation must be certified by the president and the secretary jointly. Certified copy of the resolution regarding the opening of the account and operations thereon. Now, once again, when the cooperative society, the office bearers meet, they must take a decision. Okay, we will open an account at Commercial Bank of Ceylon Limited, North Tandia branch, right? And the checks will be signed by so and so. All that decision is taken. Then you must, after the meeting, after a few days after the meeting, this whatever that were discussed at the meeting will be certified by the president and the secretary. Okay. So similarly, there will be a resolution. Resolution is a part of the decision-making minutes, the part of the minutes where extract means a shortened version of the resolution for decision taken. Now the decision is for the society to open an account with commercial bank or whatever bank, Cargill's bank or whatever. That certified copy of the resolution must be is a mandatory document. Okay, the resolution should conform to the regulation and laws, right? Regulations laid down in the bylaws of the society. Now, society will have various types of laws called bylaws, and in that bylaws, we'll say how this account will be regulated or monitored. Certified copy of the minutes of the meeting at which the current office bearers were elected. Once again, this was clubs, societies, and associations must have an annual general meeting. Okay, and at the annual general meeting, the next set of office bearers who will take over and run the affairs of the society or club or whatever this thing, that document must be available. Okay. Have all of you understood everything that I mentioned up to now? Or is there anything that is not very clear? Right, okay. The last point I told you is that at the annual general meeting is the meeting at which the office bearers are elected. Okay, and it will say president so and so was elected, secretary so and so was elected. This thing, everything is there in that, right? Then you must ask for a copy of that, certified copy of that, and then you will know that these people who are trying to operate the account have the power to do that. Otherwise, the bank, as a bank, you might get into a problem. Then, now when the cooperative society opens the account, there will be few people who will be authorized to sign. Right? They are called authorized signatories of the cooperative society. Now, let's say Wildlife and Nature Protection Society. We had our AGM, let's say, on 31st of March. On that date, Pereira, Silva, Gunawardana, Jayasinghe, like that, 5 people were appointed by the membership to sign checks. Right now, they are the authorized signatories. Now, when they go to open the account in the bank, all 5 of them must sign AML and KYC documents. Remember that. Okay. And when they sign documents, they must give special instructions. What kind of special instructions? That will say, sometimes the instructions will say, checks up to 100,000 rupees will be signed by only one person. If the check value of the check is more than 200,000, up to 299,000, 2 people will sign. Like that, different levels as the money, the amount of money, the value of the check is going to be big, then the number of signatures also might increase. Sometimes a check for 1 million might require about signatures of 3 authorized signators. Those are the special instructions that are given to the bank. Okay. The following document should be certified by an Assistant Commissioner of Cooperative Development. Now, when they open an account for a cooperative society, right, that mandate form and the signature cards, sorry, the documents that are given to the bank must carry the signature of the Assistant Commissioner of Cooperative Development. What are the documents? Mandate form and signature cards in duplicate. Signature cards, each person must sign 2 signature cards, right? They must be certified by the Assistant Commissioner. The mandate form must be certified by the commissioner, assistant commissioner, and also copy of the rules and bylaws. Okay, it's a copy. It must be certified by the assistant commissioner of cooperative development. All documents should be forwarded to the bank through the officers or the assistant commissioner of cooperative development. Now, when they want to open the account, these documents must be sent to the bank through this office of the assistant commissioner of cooperative development. Executors and administrators accounts. You can remember we talked about executor. Executor is where there is a will of a person before his death, right? There is a probate, right? And there is an executor. Person dies, writing a will. Then after his death, the probate will be issued. In the probate, an executor's name will appear. Okay. In regard to a person who dies without a last will, right? Then after court proceedings, an administrator will be appointed by the courts. His job is to manage the property, money, everything of the person who died and distribute it among the people in a very fair manner. Okay. Now, very clear, I believe, executor always is appointed in respect of a person who died after writing a will. This is a person who had died without writing a will. Letters of administration will be given to somebody to administer the estate. Here, the probate is a document which says how the properties and money and various other things of the dead person will be handled. As you know, mandate is a mandatory document or a must document, irrespective of whatever the type of account that you open. Any account opened in a bank must have a mandate. It's number one document. Specimen signature cards. Now, if it is executor, if there's only one executor, you must get the specimen signature card of the executor. There's only one administrator, maybe two administrators. There are two, you'll have to get both people to sign cards. If it is only one person, you can ask that person's signature on a signature card. Original and copy of the probate. I told you there is a document called the probate, which is given, right, when a person dies without a will, with a will, with a will, there is a probate. If there is no will, there are letters of administration. There is a letter of administration. A copy should be certified as a true copy by an authorized officer of the bank. Now, when an executor's account is being opened, the bank must ask for the probate. When an administrator's account is appointed, the bank must ask for a copy of the letter of administration, and one of the officers in the bank must certify that, right, that he has seen the original. Customer information form for all executors, right? If there are more than one executor, customer information forms. What are the customer information forms, KYC forms, CDD, all those things you have to do, identification, everything. Then special instructions. Are there any special instructions on these accounts? If there are any special instructions, they must be a copy of that, certified copy of that must be obtained. Then there is a way that the account should be titled. When you open the account, you don't put the dead man's name, right? Only. It says administrator of the late Mr. Gamini Fonseca, or else executor of the estate of the late Mrs. Jayasumana Jayakudi. Okay? The word administrator or executor of the estate must come before the name of the dead person. Then, if the will gives power for more than one executor, all the executors, let's say 3 executors, all 3 must sign the mandate, right? And also, account operating instruction should strictly be in accordance with the probate. Okay, account opening instructions cannot be any different to what is given in the probate. Okay, if the probate says for all payments made from this account about 250,000 rupees, so and so and so and so must both sign. All checks must be signed in that manner. So those are called operating instructions of the account. Okay. Government accounts. Now there are certain documents to be completed for government accounts. Any account, as I told you a couple of times now, must have the mandate. That's a key document. Signature cards, one card or maybe more than one card. If there are so many people signing checks, more than one signature card, that is also important. Any account will have mandate and signature cards, right? Any account, whether it's a rupee account or a foreign currency account, you will have these documents mandatory. Letter of authority signed by the Deputy Secretary to the Treasury, that is a document, right? To be signed by the letter of authority signed by the Deputy Secretary to the Treasury. This is not required if the mandate is signed by the Deputy Secretary or the Treasury. And if the mandate has been signed by the Deputy Secretary to the Treasury, then this letter of authority is not required, right? Otherwise, you need the letter of authority. Yes, there are certain special instructions if government accounts are involved. Letter from the Deputy Secretary to the Treasury must say what are the names and the designations of the people who are authorized to sign checks. Now he will certify the specimen signature cards also. No, we don't spoke about it earlier. Can remember all this, right? Mandate, signature card, then letter of authority signed by the Deputy Secretary. Account operating instructions. It must say how the accounts will be How the checks will be? Operating instructions means normally these instructions come in the form of a check, right? Account operating means either to deposit money or pay money. Depositing money, any person can go and do it. But if the money in the account is be withdrawn, right, they must be with proper instructions. Those are called account operating instructions. Accounts of government corporations. Once again, mandate. Mandate is, as you know, it's the account opening form. Specimen signature cards, those are small cards, separate cards, where you put your name, NIC number, and various other documents, the various other information bank has asked for, and you will place your signature. It's a specimen of your signature, right? Just one signature, which they will compare, right? When you send, when the bank gets checks signed by the customer, because banks must and have a responsibility to pay checks if they have been properly signed by the account holder. So that is why we are taking specimen signature cards. As I told you earlier today, what we do is we take a photograph or scan the signature and upload it to the system, right? Even if a new cashier comes, okay, he will have the signature of the customer on the screen. So he will compare the signature on the screen with the actual document, which is a check, before making payment, comparing the signatures. Now, if it is a government corporation, there should be an act of parliament to set up that corporation. Now, we bankers need to get a copy of that act. Okay. Or else it could be a copy of the Gazette, right? Now the Gazette will give the names of the directors of the corporation. Now you must get a copy of that also. Then copy of the resolution of the board of directors regarding the opening of the opening and operating the account, certified by the chairman and secretary of the board. Now, to open the account, you must take a decision. That decision is taken at a meeting of the board of directors, right? So you need to adopt a resolution at that meeting that you're opening an account with NDB Bank or DFCC Bank or whatever, right? And that must be certified by the chairman and secretary to the board. The resolution regarding operating of the account should include the full names and designation of those empowered to operate the account, right? The resolution must have these details. What are the details? Full names and designation of the persons operating the account. Accounts of non-governmental organizations, I told you NGOs, right? NGOs also operate accounts because they get money from overseas, right, to do various projects in Sri Lanka, right? Now, there are certain documents when you open accounts for NGOs also. Mandate, you know what the mandate is now. We have been talking about this mandate, the word mandate we use in connection with every account. So it's a mandatory document, or it is a must. You do not open an account for anybody without a mandate. Then, as long as the mandate, as much as the mandate is considered a very important document, signature cards that you take in duplicate. That means each person signs two signature cards in duplicate. Now, of course, banks don't take this in duplicate. Now, these are old. Previously, before the banks became computerized, what you do is you take two cards, you keep one card with the cashier, right? Other card, you keep it in a safer place, because if something happens to this card, you always have access to the other card also, right? In case of a fire or something like that, if that gets destroyed, you have this. One of the two is available. That's why you have taken two cards at that time. Now that risk is not there. You can, the account opening forms have places for the customer to give a specimen signature. They put it there. That form is scanned. Then the signature gets captured. A photo of the signature comes on the system. That is in the system. So when a check is drawn and the check is given to the bank for payment, the cashier will put the account number and the name. Immediately on the screen, it will show the signature. If there are more than one people to sign, it will say this account needs signatures of so and so, so and so, so and so. Right? That those instructions also, special instructions will come. Registration certificate issued by the Ministry of Social Services. Now, NGOs, remember, they cannot, right, start operating in Sri Lanka unless they get the approval of the Ministry of Social Services. Ministry of Social Services will go through all the application to set up this NGO in Sri Lanka, and they will issue a certificate of registration. Now you need to get I have forgotten to write here, a certified copy of the registration certificate. Okay, it must be a certified copy. Right? Customer information forms for all authorized signatories. Why? Customer due diligence, know your customer, anti-money laundering, CFT requirements, all those things are there. Because of that, you need to get customer information forms of all the people. If there are 10 people who are signing checks, maybe only 2 people sign at a time, but names of 10 people and signatures of 10 people have been given. If there are 10 people given, you must get the signatures and information of all the signatories. Right? These are the ways that banks seek protection. Otherwise, if the bank becomes negligent and if the bank doesn't look at those things and just go and pay checks and things like that, it becomes a problem. AML, KYC documents, Sometimes you will be asked questions. If you all have account opening related questions, you will be asked what are the documents that are taken when opening a partnership account. Then you should list out all these documents. I suggest that you look at all the past papers, at least of 6 examinations the institute has held previously and see whether you have questions related to that area. And go through this handout and these presentations and just write answers. Get used to the style of writing answers as if you are writing at the exam. Accounts of non-governmental organizations or NGOs. Where the NGO is a branch or a liaison office of an institution incorporated overseas. Now, it is generally the case with most of the NGOs because they have their head office in maybe Geneva or Canada or whatever, and this is only a branch, right? Now, to open the account here, the parent body or the head office of theirs must have taken a decision. Now, that decision is coming in the form of a resolution of the parent body. You must take a copy of that resolution to open the account. That letter must say appointment of the office bearers named Pereira, Gamage, Silva, Jayasinghe, Gunawardena, all that must be there. Who are the people who are to operate the account and what are the values of checks that they can sign. Gunawardena can sign checks only up to 5,000. But Pereira can sign checks up to 10,000. Like that, there may be instructions. Appointing the office bearers who are authorized to operate. They are only those people who are given in this letter can operate the account. And undertaking to give prior notice to the bank regarding any changes in the operating instructions or authorized signatories. Now, this letter coming from the parent body must give the bank an undertaking that they will give notice to the bank regarding any changes, because if people change, right, the operating instructions given to the bank with regard to the people who sign checks also must change. So these people must give authority to the bank whenever there are changes. Okay, now these are the places from where I have taken these things. Now, this is a very important document. This is available in the Cargill's Bank website. Go through the websites of Ceylon Bank, Commercial Bank, and Sampath Bank, 3 big banks, who has given various instructions, right? Then this is also, let's see whether this gets open. Right, this also has various things relating to operating business, but these are very long document, right? Business undertakings. Here, everything is explained in detail, right? If you are interested in reading, here the Companies Act displayed, limited liability company, unlimited company, company limited by guarantee, then limited liability companies, you have private company, public company, offshore company, public company, quoted on the stock exchange, unquoted, all that things are there. It's a very useful document, right? How to do foreign investments, what is money laundering, right? It is good for you to look at this document. Pawnbroking, because that is a business that the banks do, right? various types of protection that banks get. All these things are there. Okay, so if you want to know about money lending in Sri Lanka, all that you can read this document. Although this reading this document is not mandatory, right? It is not a must. Okay, this is a very useful document because this has a lot of things, lot of general information also, right? Exchange control and things like that. Everything is there. So you can, if you like to read those things, you can find time to do that. So last time I wrote my email address, but I did not see any emails in my inbox, and I believe that you did not want to ask questions. Let's see, there are some questions now I see. Please give an example of miscellaneous account. I think we have all those NGO accounts and things like that, clubs and societies, various things. I think this was explained. Are you happy with that, Balasubramaniam? Are you happy with that? Mohammed Dilshan? Are you happy with this thing? Right, you say yes. Mohammed Dilshan, FIU is something that we discussed last week also. FIU stands for Financial Intelligence Unit. Okay. Now this is established in the Central Bank of Sri Lanka. In my handout, right. Sorry. Yes, sorry. Because I saw the questions only now. Right. Thank you. You have answered the question that I asked. I asked what is FIU. Right. Okay. Right. I'm sorry about that. Are there any other questions? I can see only 18 people. Most of the other people have left. I don't know whether it is because the lecture was boring or whatever. Right. So shall we have only 5 minutes. If there are any more questions, can you type quickly? If not, I will write my email address once again. You can ask me questions by mail. Right? And my mobile number is if anyone wants to ask me any question, you all know my name. Okay. My name is there, my telephone number is there, my email address is there. Any clarifications you need, please do not think it's a problem. You're always welcome to use my mobile or my email address to ask something if you are not happy with the way that I am lecturing also, you can say that, right? You don't have to give your full name. You can just ask even one of your friends to send the mail telling me whatever that you want to tell me. Okay. Right. Okay. I think we have now come to the end of the session. I'm once again requesting all of you to please make use of my mobile phone or my email address to point out if my lecture was not clear. Please tell me. If you want to know additional information with regard to what we discussed today, that also you can tell me. Okay. So since we have almost come to the end of today's time, 12:30, let me wish you a very good afternoon, and we will stop the lecture today. Next day, we will talk about foreign currency accounts. I will send you the lecture note early so that you can read it and be prepared with some questions. It will be beneficial to all of us. Thank you very much.